top stories tonight. Soldiers reported killed as Boko Haram insurgents attack military camp in Borno State. President Tinubu sends 2025-27 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework to National Assembly for approval. 4 Nigerians jailed by court in the UK over violent knife attack in 2021. Sudan Army Chief rejects foreign interference in country's civil war. Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicity Ezewike. Let's tell you that a group of suspected Boko Haram terrorists has launched another attack on Kaireto, a nearby border community with Niger and Chad Republic in Borno State earlier in the day, just days after a previous attack on the military camp in the area. So, to discuss this, we're joined by public affairs analyst Shatima Mustafa. Shatima, thank you for joining us. What update can you give us on the recent attack by suspected Boko Haram terrorists? Is there indeed calm back in the community?
Yes, thank you very much for having me on the program. As you rightly said, that the situation has been brought under control, calm, and some semblance of normalcy has since been returned. We were able to have some, we were in touch with some community members, some villagers across the town of Kaireto, and they were able to give us assurances that the situation has been brought under control so far.
What is the government doing beyond commiserating with victims and the armed forces? Are there any actions that they have announced in an effort to forestall further attack?
At the moment, we are not aware of any plan or new action that is launched by the government in order to counter the resurging cases of sporadic attacks here and there, particularly on sub-target across some communities in Borno and Yobe State. However, government has not relented in its efforts in ensuring that the situation, the insurgency has been brought to an end through collaboration with civilian JTF and some community members, as well as engaging in kinetic and non-kinetic measures to ensure that Boko Haram insurgency has been brought to an end. Of government security agencies and volunteer community militias across various communities and local government in Borno State. And this has gone a long way in restoring peace, relative peace in many villages, towns and communities in local governments that were hitherto deserted as a result of the activities of the Boko Haram insurgency. So far so good. And the recent surge in attack, particularly on sub-targets across some communities in Borno and Yobe State, could not be actually said to have actually reversed all the achievements that the Nigerian security forces were able to achieve in restoring relative peace in various communities across Borno State. However, government needs to actually step up its operations, particularly preemptive operations across Lake Chad Basin area, to ensure that these insurgents are contained, particularly those that are running away from the...
Find out from you what the growing concern is about the spike and how are citizens responding?
Yes, citizens are actually responding with a lot of caution and calm, and with support and cooperation with the security agencies across various communities in Borno State. Because as I was earlier on saying, before now, some security situation has been relatively peaceful, because in the last farming season, a lot of communities have come out to their farm, were involved in farming activities in an unprecedented manner, because in the last 10 years or so, particularly in Borno State, people have never gone out to farming, like the one experienced in the just concluded farming season. So this has clearly signifies the return of relative peace in most of the communities that were hitherto ransacked and by the Boko Haram.
This is the last question, and it's a stretch actually. As a public affairs analyst who is aware of events, and maybe some that the ordinary citizens might not be privy to, is it possible that you have the correct figure? Because what we have is, people suggesting that the army lost quite a number. Is it beyond 20 or maybe less?
It is still very speculative, as there is no any pronouncement as to the exact official figure of casualties, if there is any, as far as that character attack is concerned. So pending the time when government and security agencies release a official figure, we cannot be able to, with precision, say the precise number of casualties, if there is any, recorded on the side of Nigerian security forces for now.
All right. Thank you very much, Asima, for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Away from security matters for now, President Bola Tinubu has submitted a request to the House of Representatives seeking the approval to borrow over 1 trillion naira as part of the 2024 Appropriation Act. The president's request was delivered to the House in 3 separate letters, where he also urged lawmakers to consider the passage of the 2025 to 2027 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, the Fiscal Strategy Paper, and the amendment of the bill for the establishment of the National Social Investment Program. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, has more on this.
The legislative business for the day began after a week-long recess with the presentation of 3 letters from President Bola Tinubu to Parliament. The first letter requested Parliament to consider the 2025 to 2027 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and the Fiscal Strategy Paper.
The House is hereby invited to note that as the 2025 budget of the federal government will be prepared based on the parameters and fiscal assumptions of the approved 2025 to 2027, it is imperative to seek the National Assembly's expeditious legislative action on this submission.
The second letter requested Parliament to amend the National Social Investment Program Bill, which aims to improve the implementation of the government's social investment programs.
Pursuant to Section 58, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, I forward herewith for the consideration and passage by the House of Representatives the National Social Investment Program Agency Establishment Amendment Bill 2024.
The final letter from President Bola Tinubu sought the approval of Parliament to borrow over $2.2 billion as part of the 2024 Appropriation Act.
I write to request for a resolution of the National Assembly to raise the sum of 1,767,610,321,779 naira, provided as new external borrowing in the 2024 Appropriation Act to part finance the budget deficit of 9.179 trillion in the 2024 budget.
The House then resolved to tackle other business of the day as lawmakers address pressing issues.
The extrajudicial killing of Mrs. Kelechi Augustine Ibe in Boni local government area. They pray the House to investigate the murder of Mrs. Kelechi Ibe by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and compensation for the family of the deceased.
As well, recognizing the attack that was done on the convoy of Honorable Jinja Omosibe and leading to the death of some security personnel, the House is deeply concerned about this threat and violence that poses a disruption to peace.
With legislative business resuming, many Nigerians will be hoping that lawmakers can contribute positively to the development of the country. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Many thanks, Idong. According to nairametrics, not less than 6 loan projects have been approved, and they include loans for power, that's $750 million, women empowerment, $500 million, girls' education, $700 million, renewable energy, $750 million, economic stabilization reforms, $1.5 billion, and resource mobilization reforms, $750 million. According to findings by nairametrics. Also, the World Bank may approve 4 loan projects totaling $2 billion for Nigeria this year. If approved, Nigeria will have secured a total of $4.25 billion in loans from the bank this year alone, and a cumulative $6.95 billion under the administration of President Bola Tinubu. To help us make sense of this, we're joined by Chartered Accountant Aki Fatunke. Aki, it's good to see you again. More borrowing for Nigeria. A breakdown by nairametrics indicates we are not, stepping down from borrowing. So what was your initial reaction to the president's request?
That of cautious optimism, I dare say, because hope springs eternal from hearts that looks at things very positively. $2.2 billion. I think with the performance of Nigerian and Eurobond lately, the projected $1.7 billion that will come from there looks good, in my opinion. And if you match that with the Sukuk, that will give an approximately $500 million, we should be home and dry with the over $2 billion in borrowing. And clearly, the problem is not in borrowing. The problem is in what we use that borrowing to generate. And part of what I am hearing and what I'm perceiving is in the area of social investment to push in the pains that has come in the wake of the very harsh and very tough decisions to try and balance the Nigerian economy so that we can continue to tackle inflation, we can continue to strengthen the economic resilience, and hopefully we should be able to get the appropriate, this time around, peace between the monetary and the physical to take us to the high level. My other reaction quickly will be, how did we fare at the last count? So were we able to balance our books? Were we able to get efficiencies in our loan management? I want to say yes, in marginal relative terms. We were spending less to finance our loans. Is it going to continue? Time will tell.
All right. I was going to ask you how this 2025-2027 MTEF aligned with President Tinubu's broader economic vision, but you seem to have a little bit more optimism. So I'll just go ahead and ask, what are the expected macroeconomic assumptions? For instance, the GDP growth, inflation, exchange rates, and the likes that underpin this request, and how will these assumptions be monitored and perhaps adjusted over the framework period?
You and I, Felicity, and the nairametrics inclusive, NGOs, National Assembly must stay on our tenterhooks to make sure we act as discipline to ensure this is going according to plan. So, for instance, the oil benchmark has been pegged at $75 per barrel. Looks reasonable on the assumption that we do not have any major disruption in the Niger Delta. And we see bit of promise from the political actors who may turn die upside down. Tantina has come clearly to say that, look, President Bola Tinubu is asking that we should now be gunning for 2.06, which is the assumption that we have. We're 2 million barrels per day, when we are now doing about 1.6, 1.8, also looks reasonable. Under the assumption that we are not going to get any major disruption, we are not getting any other future choice outside the shores of Nigeria that will do that. The GDP growth rate at 4.6% in my mind looks quite very ambitious. It beats the IMF revised projection, which has come down slightly. And with the slow nature of the response that we are getting, if you ask me, from the macroeconomic policies, which is still squeezing itself within the cracks, that might be a tall tale. Hopefully, let's see how that pans out. And don't forget that for the second quarter, I think we did about 3.19%. That was a major jump. Are we going to be able to sustain that for the last quarter and the third? Again, we'll try and see how that pans out. Yes.
All right, quickly, so we wrap up. What steps would you suggest be taken to ensure that the MTEF promotes fiscal discipline while avoiding excessive borrowing that could strain future budgets?
Yeah, simple. Discipline. Watch over our expenditures very closely. Also, make sure that the turbulence that might come from the political, I use the word political, from political to political actors is stemmed in good time so that they don't erupt beyond and the kind of expectation. I'm going to be looking at this budget that has been presented and the MTP details to see if we are going to be seeing extraneous factors that shocks the eyes and hurts the mind by way of executive recklessness. Let me put it that way. There shouldn't be any padding of salt. It should be clear. We should be going for prioritized projects and not what we describe as
I guess we should end with your cautious.
We should not be seeing, for instance, again, the repetitive thing about presidential jets, yachts.
Yeah, I guess let's go with your earlier optimistic note, cautious optimism that there will be more discipline this time around. We'll have to leave it there.
I hope so.
Thank you, Akin, as always, for speaking with us.
Thank you very much, Felicity. Always a pleasure.
Coming up, UK court jails 4 Nigerians over 2021 knife fight. Details after the break. Do join us again. If you've just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. Soldiers reported killed as Boko Haram insurgents attack military camp in Borno State. President Tinubu sends 2025-2027 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework to the National Assembly for approval. 4 Nigerians jailed by a court in the UK over violent knife attack in 2021. Sudan Army Chief rejects foreign interference in country's civil war. Few days after the declaration of Lucky Ayedatiwa of Ondo State as the winner of last Saturday's governorship election, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has rejected the results of the election. Ajayi, who said he has been studying and examining the election results across the state, disclosed that he would be heading to the tribunal to seek justice. The former deputy governor said he kept silent since the announcement of the results to enable him to investigate what he termed contents of criminality prosecuted by both the APC and INEC. Ajayi said the investigation uncovered many actions undertaken to compromise the electoral will of the people. Speaking in a statement through his special advisor, Ayo Fadaka, Ajayi said democracy could not thrive in an environment where unabated criminality was perpetrated in the prosecution of an election by INEC. To discuss this, we're joined by political analyst Henry Olonimoyo. Henry, thank you for joining us. Rejection of results and heading to court is not new. But does he have enough evidence, in your view, to sway a tribunal?
Thank you very much. The outcome of the just concluded in this election is a very unique one in that for the very first time in the history of State, the winner has swept through all the local governments. Never had that before. For election that was largely reported as peaceful, maybe for one or two local governments, maybe joint local governments where the case was snatching of ballot box. Largely peaceful election. And then an overwhelming margin of over 200,000 votes. I do not see how Mr. Bola is seeking to overturn this in court, purely on the grounds of the way, on the grounds on which the election was conducted, because INEC also displayed fantastic conduct with the election. But of course, we also know there are issues with vote buying. Now, whether you are able to, how is going to put his case on vote buying as something to rule out the election, I do not see how possible that will be. I don't see whatever maneuver that can come from the court that will raise over 200,000 votes if they fall order. I don't see how it intends to do, except for pre-election case. I mean, pre-election reasons. I mean, maybe issues with roaming around the educational case of maybe the governor or his.
He is alleging that elections conducted by INEC since the APC assumed power in 2015 have continued in a tradition of hijacking the process and delivering results that were opposed to the expressed electoral will. What do you make of his allegations? I mean, from looking at what is going on, we do see that APC seems to be winning, but does that give weight to his allegations?
Yes, so firstly, if he's taking any redress in the court, his case will be really focused on what happened in the election, on the day of election in those states, and will not be premised on whatever has happened in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, as the case may be solely on what happened in those states. And if you look at what has happened in those states, last reported by the media and by observers, that largely it was a case of willing sellers, willing buyers, and the business deal was struck. People sold their votes en masse, and that brought out a landslide victory for the winner. I do not see how is that can be brought up in the courts. I mean, because if you look at it, the processes that we followed were followed. As at Saturday night, 90% of the results were being uploaded on the IREC. Everything, as far as I'm concerned, even if you see the way INEC has been relating with the political parties in the build-up to the election, it's been fantastic, flawless. So I do not see anything that can overturn 400,000 plus. But I think it's typical also of the average Nigerian politician that the only election that works, that is fantastic, is the one that we win. The one I do not win, then there are issues.
I mean, also a curious part is we get to hear a lot about God and justice when this does happen. But the elections are now over. The next thing is to go to court, which is a right of every citizen in this country. There has been reviews by many observer groups that went through the process as well. What is your overall assessment of the reviews that have been presented by these various observer groups?
Yes, just to add to the litigation issue, it appears that there's this traditional need for lawyers to always ensure they get their own share of the political largesse. And that's why you see sometimes they are convincing their clients that there are cases to pursue in the courts, and maybe that's what is spoiling this. But on the overall review of the election, it's clear as day that there was massive vote buying across the 18 local governments. People willingly sold their votes. People were offered money. People sold their votes, and that vote was what was counted, and that brought about a landslide. And for me, what is probably worrying is the fact that people are no longer resisting. People are no longer trying to fight for a country again, fight for democracy. People have just resigned to fate. And for me, it's dangerous when you get to a point where the electorates don't care again. I mean, they cannot be bothered. In fact, in my polling unit, we have people who are fighting and saying they must get their money. It's not anybody's money. And I mean, literally, they're talking about bribing them to vote. That's where we are right now.
You do raise a very important. You do raise a very important point. When people have given up, we are in danger. We hope that is not the case. Thank you very much, Henry, for your submissions.
Thank you.
Let's bring you one of our top stories tonight. 4 Nigerian students have been sentenced in the United Kingdom for their involvement in a violent altercation involving knives and a baseball bat in Leicester. The incident, which occurred on New Park Street in the early hours of November 4, 2021, left one victim with multiple stab wounds. Following a detailed investigation by the Leicester City Police, authorities identified the culprits through CCTV footage, phone tracking, and public assistance. The 6-week trial concluded in October, and the sentences were handed down on November 14. A report published on the police website last Thursday details the outcome. Now, today is November 19, and it is celebrated annually as International Men's Day to create awareness on the many issues that men face, including parental alienation, abuse, homelessness, suicide, violence, among others, as Nigerian men join their counterparts across the world to mark this year's International Men's Day. The focus is on men to prioritize their physical and mental health to promote longevity. News Center's correspondent, Austin Azo, tells us more.
International Men's Day is a global event celebrated annually on every November 19th to highlight, among others, the impact of men and boys on various aspects of life, including challenges facing them in the society. The theme for this year's celebration is Men's Health Champions, emphasizes improving men's overall well-being and promoting healthy lifestyles. Across Nigeria, the awareness about the International Men's Day is very low compared to that of the women and girl child.
To be honest, I'm not aware that today is International Men's Day.
Today, I'm not aware at all today is a men's day because majority of folk will not even know what is happening in the country today because of the hardship of the economy of Nigeria at part today.
Is this day worth celebrating?
Being a head of the house is not easy. As a man, you wake up every morning, you go to work, you go look for money to pay the children's school fees, to pay rent and all that. And not just only that, they do a lot of things, family responsibilities, trying to make sure everything is all right. And yet women, they keep complaining, but the men, they are trying, they are good. They are really trying. So I think men should be celebrated.
It's better this way, having a day for them set aside to celebrate them, and we'll celebrate them, yeah, because they are doing great.
A cross-section of respondents who spoke commended men's resilience and contributions to their families and society, even as they bear their minds on what men can do to guarantee their good health and long life.
We must try as much as possible to avoid things that cause depression, stress.
If a man that is married to a good wife, no matter the issue he has, there is tendency for him to live very, very long. Let us have Ministry of Men Affairs, which will also help us check the excesses of men socially and moral-wise.
But Wamba Gabriel, medical practitioner and a clergyman, Peter Maya, urged men to prioritize their health and balance their spiritual well-beings, irrespective of what the current economic situation throws at them.
I advise every man that he should take note of his BP, always follow up with his medications and his regular visits, and cut down on alcohol.
You must feed your family, you must fend for them, you must protect for them, but you must also go inward and create time for your health, for your well-being, and even for your spiritual life and emotional life.
The idea for International Men's Day was first proposed in 1992, but it was not widely recognized until Dr. Jeremiah Tiloksai revived the initiative in 1999. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
I have so much I want to say, but I'll just sum it up and say Happy International Men's Day to all men, including those behind the camera in this studio tonight. Now, as part of ongoing efforts to eliminate open defecation in Nigeria, the United Nations Children's Fund and Borno State government has launched an ambitious community-led open defecation-free roadmap aimed at empowering citizens to take ownership of their hygiene practices. This formed part of activities to mark this year's World Toilet Day, which focuses on education, the construction of household toilets, and the promotion of safe waste disposal practices. News Center's Umaru Kirawa, who is part of the team at the Musa Usman International Conference Center in Maiduguri, completes the report.
Open defecation remains a pressing challenge in many parts of Nigeria, particularly in conflict-affected regions where displaced populations and poor infrastructure exacerbate sanitation issues. That was the launching of a new action plan by Borno State government, supported by UNICEF, which will focus on rebuilding sanitation infrastructure and promoting community-led initiatives to build and maintain toilets.
When Nigerians decide to do something, they can do it. And already we have two LGAs, BU and Shani, that have done it. They were declared last year, 2022. In order to be able to reach this key achievement, a commitment is required from the government, which now they have done.
This administration will be providing, will be taking the following steps. Constitute the Interministerial Steering Committee to provide support to you and the technical agencies in all activities to be carried out. I'm calling for a quarterly condition meeting or coordination meeting where each local government council chairman and his team of traditional rulers and religious leaders will meet to review and compile progress.
The initiative also targets increasing public awareness about the health risks associated with open defecation.
We'll key in at all levels, particularly at the local level, by sensitization, creating sensitization and awareness to the, populace, and, implementing this, modus operandi of the UNICEF and the State Government Ministry of Water Resources at large.
The United Nations Children's Fund decorated the wife of the Borno State Governor as the State Open Defecation-Free Ambassador, as community leaders have been regarded as champions of the movement.
We would like to assure you that UNICEF is behind you and will be with you all the way to ensure that Borno is free.
Some of the key strategies for the implementation of the Open Defecation-Free campaign include expanding access to safe water within 30 meters, achieving universal access to water supply by 2025, and ensuring affordable sanitation options. A challenge and ambition that remains to be seen by all. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Still ahead, Sudan Army Chief rejects foreign interference in country's civil war. That is after the break. Stay with us. Sudan's Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan on Tuesday rejected any foreign interference in the country's war, a day after Russia vetoed a UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire. Speaking at an economic conference in Port Sudan, Burhan dismissed dictates aimed at forcing solutions upon them and praised Russia's supportive stance. He said his government had never agreed to the draft resolution which sought to end the war between his army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces led by his former deputy, Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. The war, which erupted in April 2023, has killed tens of thousands and uprooted more than 11 million people, creating what the UN has called the world's largest displacement crisis. Let's go over now to our business desk for today's business update.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Nigeria's foreign trade value in the first half of 2024 reached 65.88 trillion naira, a substantial increase of 162.33% compared to 27.78 trillion naira recorded in the same period of the previous year, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Nigeria achieved a trade surplus of 12 trillion naira in the first half of 2024, driven by strong export performance totaling 38.58 trillion naira. These export figures significantly outpaced imports, which stood at 26.44 trillion naira, highlighting the country's robust trade balance. European countries emerged as Nigeria's leading trading region in the first half of 2024, with a trade volume of 27.38 trillion naira. Asia followed closely with 21.75 trillion naira, fueled by substantial trade activities with major partners like India and China, while the Americas accounted for 10.18 trillion naira, primarily from oil and agricultural exports to the United States and Canada. President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed Nigeria's resolve to reposition its mining sector as a driver of economic transformation and shared prosperity. Speaking at the opening of the 9th edition of Nigeria Mining Week in Abuja, the president, represented by the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Naji, outlined bold reforms aimed at enhancing transparency, sustainability and economic resilience in the sector. The president highlighted the administration's commitment to transparency and good governance, emphasizing fairness in licensing processes and regulatory frameworks. He also underscored the importance of environmental stewardship, local content development, and technological transfer as vital components for fostering resilience and creating employment opportunities. Foreign investment in Tanzania is expected to grow by a third next year, as President Samia Suluhu Hassan's pro-business stance has helped to reverse the impact of her predecessor's policies that antagonized investors. Authorities expect to receive foreign direct investment inflows of around $2.5 billion this year and $3 billion in 2025 from $2.2 billion last year, according to Tanzania Investment Center's Executive Director Gilead Terry. The TIC expects investment interest for projects valued at $8 billion this year from $5.4 billion in 2023. The nation attracted $3.7 billion in 2021 when Hassan took over following President John Magufuli's demise. Her pro-business agenda has included stepping up foreign visits to woo investors, engaging local businesses, and simplifying the tax regime. And that's all on business news. I am Lekon Onobanjo.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
And in sports, Nigeria's representative at the ongoing CAF Women's Champions League, Edo Queens, suffered a semi-final defeat to TP Mazembe, missing the opportunity to reach the final. Let's join Favor Itwa for more updates.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
And in sports, Nigeria's hopes for a historic first CAF Women's Champions League title have ended after Nigerian champions Edo Queens were eliminated after losing 3-1 in extra time to TP Mazembe on Tuesday. After a barren first half at Casablanca's Labi Zaoli Stadium, Edo Queens broke the deadlock after MMSN lobbed goalkeeper Fideli Nungoi in the 65th minute. The Nigerians paid for their inability to finish off their opponent after Mavil Naguji scored the 90th minute equalizer to take the game into extra time. An unfortunate own goal by teenage defender Comfort Folorunshaw gave the Congolese champions the lead in the 101st minute before Malin Yav Kasaji converted a 108-minute penalty to seal the win. Coach Moses Aduko will now hope his players can find extra motivation ahead of their third-place match on Friday. Still talking football, struggling Serie A side Genoa have announced the sacking of manager Albert Gilardino on Tuesday. Genoa sits 17th at the table, just 1 point above the relegation zone, with only 2 wins from 12 matches this season. 42-year-old Gilardino took over at Genoa in December 2022 after coaching the club's under-19 team. Last season, he guided them to an 11th place finish in the table. Gilardino, a World Cup winner in 2006 with Italy, made over 500 appearances in Serie A as a player and also claimed the Champions League title in 2007 with AC Milan. According to reports, ex-Arsenal and France midfielder Patrick Vieira is in the running to replace him. Vieira previously managed Crystal Palace in the Premier League. He has been without a club since leaving Ligue 1 side Strasbourg in July. And now to tennis. Great Britain's long way to win the Billie Jean King Cup continues after Slovakia staged an impressive fight back to reach the final. British number 2 Emma Raducanu put her team in early command with a 6-4, 6-4 victory over Victoria Ronkakova at the start of Tuesday's semi-final. Britain's leading singles player Katie Bolter then missed an opportunity to secure victory after losing 2-6, 6-4, 6-4 to Slovakian number 1 Rebeka Ramkova. It meant British hopes of reaching the final for the first time since 1981, when the competition was known as the Federation Cup, rested on a deciding doubles match. But Hita Watson and Olivia Nichols, who were called upon for the first time this week, lost 6-2, 6-2 to Ronkakova and Teresa Mihalikova. And to wrap up sports update, Lewis Hamilton, who raced the final 3 Grand Prix of his Mercedes career after the 7-time world champion raised doubts about his immediate future in Brazil earlier this month. The British driver, who is moving to Ferrari next season, is understood to have been in Mercedes factory preparing on the simulator as usual ahead of Saturday's Las Vegas Grand Prix. The team confirmed the 39-year-old will also address the media in line with his regular pre-race commitment on Wednesday. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. I'm Favor Itwa.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Entertainment news is next.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And now in entertainment, Nigerian beauty queen Chidinma Adesina, who just achieved a historic milestone by emerging as the first runner-up at the 73rd Miss Universe pageant and bagging the crown of Miss Universe Africa and Oceania, has returned to Nigeria. In a press conference held today at the Silverbird Galleria, Victoria Island, Lagos, she spoke about what it feels like to be a queen, despite how trying her journey was.
It feels amazing. I'm really proud of myself. I'm so honored to hold this title, and I'm really excited about it because I got to exceed my expectations. So it meant a lot for me. I didn't even think about it like that. I was just still shocked that I was in the top 2 because I was paired up with people that I always felt like were very strong competitors, like Venezuela, Thailand, Mexico. I mean, I was like, okay, these girls are really, really powerful. So for me to come out second out of 125 countries, honestly, if I am not grateful for it, then I don't know what more I am expecting, because that was just a powerful moment.
Chidinma responded to a question comparing her journey to that of Agbani Darego, in saying Agbani's win in 2001 served as a huge inspiration for her.
She has always been an inspiration. I remember even when I entered in South Africa, a lot of people were always saying, you look like Agbani, and I was like, who is Agbani? And that's when I actually got to know who she really is. So for me to see that she set this history on the 16th of November 2001, and I made history again on the 16th of November 2024.
And now on the international scene, Dua Lipa has announced her release of her first ever live album, Dua Lipa Live from the Royal Albert Hall, set to drop on Friday, December the 6th. The album was recorded during her October 17th performance at London's iconic venue and features live renditions of her latest album, Radical Optimism, alongside some of her biggest hits. Reflecting on the experience, Dua Lipa shared her excitement about reimagining her music with an orchestra. She says, "When I was making Radical Optimism, I constantly thought about how these songs would transform on stage," she said. Performing at the Royal Albert Hall was thrilling and equally rewarding, giving her the chance to celebrate her music in a unique and intimate way. Fans can also look forward to a primetime concerts special, an evening with Dua Lipa, filmed at the same venue. The special is set to air on CBC and Paramount Plus on Sunday, the 15th of December, offering viewers an exclusive glimpse into the unforgettable performance.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And that is all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Soldiers have been reported killed as Boko Haram insurgents attack military camp in Borno State. President Tinubu has sent 2025-2027 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework to National Assembly for approval. 4 Nigerians have been jailed by court in the UK of a violent knife attack in 2021. We also told you that Sudan Army Chief has rejected foreign interference in country's civil war. You can catch up on all the latest news by watching News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV and on YouTube. Many thanks for your kind company. Good night.